Hey peoples, this is another movie review of the Netflix film Coffee and Kareem. So this movie is about James Coffee, who is a police officer. James has struggled a bit at work and he is pretty much treated like trash by his peers. James is dating Vanessa, who has a son named Kareem. Kareem hates Coffee and devises a plan in order to get him beat up by a local criminal. Things go awry and Coffee and Kareem end up on the run from these criminals. There's also some drug stuff involved, but that's the movie. So, as we all know, comedy is subjective. What makes me laugh might not make you laugh, and vice versa. For me, this movie has two things working against it in the comedy department. The first thing are the black and white jokes. Those never make me laugh and I just find them repetitive and lazy. If you made up a drinking game about how many times they mentioned that Coffee was a white guy or something about a white cop, you'd be in the hospital within 30 minutes of the movie. We get lines like, he was making white people noises while they were having sex. I don't even know what that means. Other lines include the stereotypical things like white people do this and I shouldn't have dated a white man because blah 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 blah. These jokes are just outdated and stale. Now, can you make a race-based joke that makes me laugh? Sure, they just have to be more clever than the simple ones in this movie. Now, the second issue in the comedy portion of the movie for me in this movie is the kid Kareem. I personally don't find vulgar / excessive cursing kids funny. It feels like movies that do this aren't writing real jokes, but the joke is supposed to be that the kid is cursing excessively. And that's it. They just make the kid say the most random things they can think of, and that's supposed to be funny. Sometimes they sacrifice a good or emotional moment just to have the kid say something foul, but his response doesn't even match up with what the other characters said, so it ends up hurting the movie. This is exactly why I didn't like the movie Good Boys. Cursing kids as the joke is just lazy writing to me. I just don't like it. But getting back to this particular movie, I found Kareem to be the most annoying character, but what was more annoying, or I guess kind of confusing, was his relationship with his mom, Vanessa. The movie sets up Vanessa as this tough, no-nonsense, I can handle myself mom. They even give her a line later in the movie that verifies this. Coffee was worried that Vanessa was going to get kidnapped by these people, but then she says, I handled them like their mother should have. But her own son is rude, disrespectful, and always in trouble. So how is the movie telling me that she's this way and yet her son is that way? How? The characters contradict each other. It doesn't make sense. It was frustrating to watch and it resulted in most of my notes being some variation of, this kid sucks, I hate this kid, the mom sucks, run away Coffee, run away from this horrible family, you deserve better. And that's honestly how I felt by the end of the movie. This man could just be happier alone, just all alone, without this horrible family. But that's the comedy in the movie that didn't work for me. The comedy that did work was anything involving the character Orlando. Orlando saved this movie. Orlando is played by Ronrico Lee, and he was absolutely the best part of this movie. Everything involving him and his crew, which consisted of the actors William Stewart and Andrew Batchelor. You've seen Andrew in a bunch of Netflix movies, and I don't know where I read this comment online, but someone said, does he just live at the Netflix studios? And that was funny to me, because he pops up in a lot of Netflix movies. The comedy with this specific group was fun, the dialogue was clever, it was colorful, the characters shined, and I could watch a whole movie with just these three guys. They could have their own TV show on Netflix by themselves and it would be a hit. Someone go tell Netflix that. Get these guys their own show, or at least their own movie, because this movie should have been just their movie. They should have been the whole movie because they were the best part of this movie. But moving on. In regards to the story, it's very predictable. You can guess the movie's reveals and twists from a mile away. You can tell what the middle, the climax, and the end is going to be. There is nothing new or surprising here. It's pretty simple. Now, that's not to say that the movie doesn't throw in a few pointless scenes in order to drag out the runtime, because it does. And after a while, it feels like they don't even know how to end the movie, or maybe they just needed those extra pointless scenes in order to actually fill that runtime. One funny thing in the movie to me is that the movie tells us the villain's plan is airtight, and the villain is so smart. Like, the character verbally says that, my plan is the best, and another character confirms it, yes, it's airtight. But the plan is actually not airtight. If you just take a moment to think about it, you'll realize how many times the villain can get caught despite their supposed airtight plan. They do things that will put their plan in jeopardy, but supposedly, again, it's still airtight. Also, in regards to the villain, the movie kind of goes off the rails and makes the villain crazy in the end. Well, not really crazy, just high on drugs, and I really wish they didn't do that because it feels like it undermines the character and pretty much assisted in going off the rails and making the end feel messier than it had to be. And speaking of going off the rails, this movie asks you multiple times to suspend your disbelief for the sake of comedy. There are small things everywhere that doesn't make sense, but the movie is telling you to just go with it. The biggest example of this are the use of guns in this movie. Either people decide not to use their guns when they should, or people are wearing bullet repellent because they will be standing wide open and somehow either not get hit or only get hit in a shoulder or the leg, some little small portion of their body, even though their whole body is exposed. And when you shoot a gun, you usually aim for the chest area. But again, bullet repellent. There's one point in the movie where Coffee and Kareem are running away from some bad guys, and the bad guys are shooting at them. Then there are two instances during the chase where the bad guys could shoot them easily, but they don't. One is when Coffee is closing a gate behind him. They act as if bullets can't go through the holes in the gate. And these are some huge holes, like hand-sized holes that obviously a bullet could go through. Then later on in that same chase, Coffee and Kareem jump over a fence and the bad guys again decide not to shoot them through the fence, as if bullets can't go through fences. And not a wood fence, like a chain fence. Why didn't they just shoot them? I don't understand. But these mysterious gun rules are consistent throughout the movie, so I guess consistency is a thing. But there are other small things the movie throws at you that it just asks you not to question. For instance, at one point, Kareem somehow gets Coffee's taser and tases his mom. Don't know how he did that without Coffee realizing it. Kareem knows how to drive and supposedly drift, but it's a comedy, so why not? One weird thing is that all the women seem to have super strength in this movie. The men will get beat up a lot, but the women can crash through doors and pick up a grown man and just throw him. Just throw him like he's nothing. And lastly, some characters will do certain things that just doesn't make sense, but they do it for comedy, so I guess common sense is sacrificed. And just to name a few more things that I want to mention that aren't really critiques, but just random moments in the movie that stuck out to me. Near the beginning of the movie, when Kareem is getting into Coffee's cop car, he yells out something and then references Johnny Cochran. The kid is maybe 12. How does this 12-year-old know who Johnny Cochran is? Especially because he is dead. And then why are we getting a Johnny Cochran joke in 2020? It's just strange. At one point, Kareem loses his cell phone, so he calls his friend on a landline. And I was just really impressed that he knew his friend's number by heart. Again, this is not a critique on the movie, just impressive that the kid just knew his friend's number by heart. I don't know my girlfriend's number by heart, but this kid, he's incredible. Another small thing is that in the movie, which you can also see in the trailer, there is a mace scene where Coffee maces one of the bad guys and then Coffee himself gets maced. Before this scene, Coffee is talking to Kareem and he says, "Oh, this mace is really strong, it's police issue, and it can take down a bear." And I was very excited about what was going to happen because I hate the way mace is displayed in movies. People in movies act like mace is the equivalent of getting soap in your eyes. Well, guess what? It's not. Trust me, it's not. But sadly, this movie got my hopes up because they set it up like it was going to be really painful, and it ended up, again, acting like they just got soap in their eyes. Also in that same scene, there's supposedly drugs just flying around and cocaine everywhere. Now, that could possibly be explained later on that it possibly could be fake. I don't know. Very confusing, but it didn't seem to affect them whatsoever, so I guess it was fake cocaine. But to wrap this up, like I said in the beginning, comedy is subjective, so things that didn't make me laugh might make you laugh. But regardless, some jokes do land flat in this movie because I see the attempts, I just don't laugh at them. The movie does have some very enjoyable moments, even some that don't involve Orlando, even though I will say that Orlando and his crew are the best part of this movie. But when it comes to my rating system, this movie was released on the platform that I expected to be on. This is a Netflix-worthy movie. I want to give it a higher rating just because of Orlando, but since most of the movie is populated by my least favorite character, I sadly can't bump it up to a better rating. But that's all, peoples. Let me know what you think. Thank you for listening. Whatever. God bless. Have a good day. I'll talk to you later.